All right, we're live and streaming. Have a great meeting.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm Brian Moffitt. I would like to welcome you to the October 8th, 2021 meeting of the Downtown Commission. The Asheville Downtown Commission was created by the City Council for the sustainability and continued development of downtown, a vital urban center of Western North Carolina's economic, cultural, and visitor activity. The Downtown Commission provides City Council with recommendations on downtown policies and initiatives. In addition, Downtown Commissioners fill out currently 4 of the 9 seats of the city's Design Review Committee, which reviews development projects within the Central Business District, the River Arts District, and hotel projects outside of those areas. The Downtown Commission also has the opportunity to provide input on projects outside of the scope of design review. All committee members and staff are participating virtually. We appreciate everyone's patience as we work through our committee meetings in this way. We are streaming live on our virtual engagement hub, which is accessible through the virtual engagement hub link on the front page of the city website. This is also linked on the Downtown Commission's committee page. We also have an option for the public to listen live by phone. And so for anyone joining us today, welcome. At this time, I will go through and introduce, call our committee members to order and do a roll call. Again, our folks know what to do, but please make sure to mute your microphone if you're not speaking. When you have a question or would like to speak, please unmute your microphone. Please remember to mute your phone again after you're done speaking. Committee members, as I call your name, please say a quick hello. Dane Berringer.
Present.
Thank you. Franzi Charon. And I do not see Andrew Fletcher, correct? Okay. Kimberly Hunter.
Hola, ¿qué tal?
Stephen Lee Johnson.
Good morning.
Good morning. Robin Raines.
Good morning.
Guillo Rodriguez.
Buenos días, yo.
Megan Rogers.
Good morning.
Ruth Summers, our vice chair, is not able to attend. Sage Turner, our city council representative, liaison.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you. I appreciate everyone coming today. At this time, we will approve the minutes from our September 10th, 2021 meeting. Again, these are a draft of the action minutes. The full minutes, if you need those, you should just listen to the video, which should be posted, I think, on our commission website. So first, are there any corrections or addendums to the action minutes? Or is there a motion to approve?
I move to approve the minutes of the September 10th meeting.
Okay, motion by Guillo. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Megan Rogers. I'll go through the roll. Dane?
I approve.
I lost my script and my agenda. This is awesome. There we go. Franzi?
I wasn't present.
Okay, thank you.
That doesn't matter, actually. It's you still have to vote, actually.
I approve.
Thank you.
Kimmy?
Aye.
Thank you. Stephen Lee?
Aye.
I am aye as well. Robin?
Aye.
Guillo, you made the motion, but you still have to vote.
Aye.
Thank you. Megan, you seconded, but you still have to vote.
Aye.
Thank you. And Sage?
Aye.
Thank you. Very good. All right. So our agenda today is reasonably light. I'm looking to get out of here by about 9:40. We are going to go through. I don't think we have any public comment. Is that still correct, Sasha or Rachel, whoever's monitoring that?
That's correct.
Okay, David. I'll get it right eventually. Thank you. So I don't think we have any public comments to be shared. I don't think we have any live call-in. So we will move on to our new business and presentations, where we will look at project review, development impact discussion for 2 projects. One is 48 South Market Street, level 1 project, and one is 50 Collier Avenue, a level 2 TRC project. And so I think Sasha is presenting those.
I am. Thank you. And yes, so the first project is a level 1 project at 48 South Market. And here it is on the map. So it's right very close to the Triangle Park. And it's one of the last buildings that hasn't been renovated or changed in this area. So if you're down here on the block, it's this small yellow building. Is there a question, Sage? Or
I just don't know. I just want to flag before we go through this, since this is just voluntary review kind of thing, does it matter that the architect and the owner are in the conversation and on the board?
right, I think Dane was, yeah, Dane, I'll let you talk to that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm involved in this project, so I would be able to answer questions about the project.
Yeah, the downtown commission doesn't vote, so it's and I'm not, the architect is no longer on P&Z anymore. I'm not sure if that's what you are talking about, but
Oh, I thought Robin was the architect. My bad.
It's
So
Laura.
sorry.
it's Laura Hudson.
It's all good.
They are good friends, though.
So this is a level 1 project, and this is kind of the existing building. These glass block windows are not original at all, and they seem to have appeared somewhere in the we think like around 2008. We figured it out from Street View, but if you go back in time, they were not here. So moving to the project. Let's see, I'll do full screen mode. So the idea here is a restoration of the existing historic building and adding a floor. And at the same time, and I think Brian or Robin or Stephen Lee or even and Kimberly could talk to this more. They've seen this, the design review committee's seen this as informal review. It's almost like rebuilding a new building inside the historic building. What is great about this project is that it is really kind of following the Secretary of Interior standards in that the addition is set back from the street edge. So when you walk by this building, you won't necessarily see this floor, and it'll be kind of like the historic building. It is like, that's the prominent feature. So let me see. It's not letting me advance. Oh. So sorry. So here's just some elevations of this project and the floor plan. So the first floor is an office use. There's a small garage in the rear, and then it's living quarters on the upper 2 stories. And it looks like there's about, I think, 4 units here. Dane can probably tell us more.
No, it's 2 apartments and 1 commercial space on the first floor.
Okay, thank you.
Well, Dane, it sure looks great. What a change to that particular part of town.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's a good project.
So I hadn't even thought about this, that this project is adjacent to a city park, and for taller buildings, usually we require a shade study. How is that going to affect the park? I haven't really studied these drawings yet, but so they included that as well. Dane, would you like to talk a little bit more about this project, or anyone from the committee like to talk about it?
Well, I'll be glad to answer any questions, but basically, it's a retrofit of an existing building. It's going to be residential. It's not going to be a hotel. It'll be 2 apartments. Plan is for them to be rental units, and first floor will be some kind of commercial restaurant, retail, office, whatever, we can get in there to occupy the first floor. And actually, my neighbor is planning on living in the front unit, and it'll just be 2 rental apartments, most likely. So any questions?
Well, just before that, let me add one thing, if I can. I should have said this. So part of the reason this existing building is right on the property line, and so with building code, you can't put windows into that wall. So that's part of the reason, of setting back and rebuilding into here so that these units can have light to the space.
Yeah, that's really the struggle with this building, is it is right on the property line. And so like Sasha said, we had to recess, part of the building, which is really, it's like building a building inside a building. But that will allow windows. But you can ignore the murals. I mean, that's just, Laura put those there just for, kind of a conceptual design. We do think there will be murals, but this is not probably what they're going to look like, most likely.
Gio.
I just wondered, I really kind of like the murals, and I knew that there were this is just a preliminary sort of sketch, but can we as the downtown commission highly recommend that there be some art such as murals or something similar to this in our final recommendations or comments?
I don't see why not.
Yeah, that would be fine. In fact, it is our plan to have murals. We've talked to Ian, the painter, who's done a lot of murals. In fact, he's done murals on our building here at 75 Broadway. If you drive down Carolina Lane, you'll see them. And they're kind of like space landscapes. And it was totally his design. So we don't know what the murals are going to be, but there will be some sort of murals. And, if you want to make that a recommendation, that's fine.
Franzi, then Megan.
Yeah, so if we are recommending on the murals, I would love to throw into consideration a reflection of what the Triangle Park has already started, of the history of that area, and do something more, in context with historical Eagle Market Street and the African American, small business ownership and some kind of educational piece around that too. I think that would be very beautiful.
Megan.
Yeah, I was actually going to make a very similar comment about the murals. And in that same vein, have you guys done any community outreach yet, Dane, to the block area businesses and residents? And if not, are you planning to? I don't think you have to do a neighborhood meeting at this level, but just curious.
Well, you may be aware I've been very involved in that part of town. So we haven't done specific outreach regarding this building, but I do know the owners in that area, and we will be involving them, as far as like murals and things like that. And it would be nice to have a Black-owned business in there, although, I don't know how feasible that is. We've had some difficulty attracting Black businesses, to the block, although that is a kind of a goal for that area. But yeah, we'll definitely keep that in mind.
Sage.
Dane, I just want to share a couple things I heard recently. One, I know that Sandra Kilgore did a lot as a real estate broker, to find and help source Black-owned businesses for the block. So you may want to reach out to her. But I heard a really interesting story when I was working on the property that is, just about 2 blocks from here, but on South Market. And that is that historically, I learned this from Roy Harris. You may want to follow up with him. Historically, the neighborhood used to be, South Market was lined with pear trees. And the folks would let out from church and go up and down South Market and pluck the pears. And to date, there is 2 pear trees left, and they're getting old and aged. And I just wonder if that's kind of a thing, some pear trees, or, like that kind of history. Just throwing out ideas. But maybe talk to Roy Harris. He's really familiar with this area and the history. He probably has some really good stories to share that might make for a better mural topic, Oh,
that's a good idea. Yeah, I know Roy. So, yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah. The pear story was adorable to me. The kids on the shoulders plucking pears. And it's the same street. Just a thought. Good luck.
Okay. Yeah, good suggestion.
So we've hit on equity, racial justice. We've hit a little bit on livability in terms of the mixed use part of the project, adding to the economic development, local business. We've talked a little bit about balance of uses. I think, reactivating this building definitely addresses some public safety issues. I would say that this is aligned with the downtown master plan based on my knowledge of it at this time. And we, I think the design has become more refined since we reviewed it the first time in the design review board. There's really no, actually, if anything, they're slightly increasing the perviousness of the existing site. It's currently 100% impervious, and there's a little less overlap with that little inset of impervious below. So I'd say that's aligned with stormwater, and we don't have any public input. So have I missed anything? Are there any other topics that the commission would like to address? Stephen Lee?
One of the things that I've decided that I'm going to try to start doing on this commission is just being more upfront about personal opinions with design. And when I see really bad design, not being as timid as I think I have been in the past. I think that when we see really good design, we need to really hold it up and celebrate it. And I think everybody is agreeing. I know the design review committee did, but I think this would have been an easier project if they had torn the building down, to be honest with you. But this is a difficult project, and I think it's a beautiful project, and this is what we need to see. So if bad stuff comes in front of us, I'm going to do the same thing, and I encourage everybody to do the same. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah.
Go ahead, Gio.
Are there any plans? I see the sidewalk ending right at the front of the building. Any idea of how to link back to the alley? Any thoughts? Any plans to do that?
So unfortunately, the land immediately adjacent to this building is owned by Barley's, and we've approached them about, and it's currently, if you go by this building, it's currently occupied by about 10 dumpsters,
Okay.
which are used by the buildings, by the businesses there on Biltmore Avenue. And we've approached Barley's about maybe purchasing, which we would love to do, purchasing it's a little triangle piece of land, and we would love to buy that property, and they are not open to selling it. So we really have no way of doing anything with that piece. It doesn't really show. I mean, you see people parking there, but it's currently occupied by a bunch of dumpsters.
No, let's hope for the next project it would make some kind of connection.
Yeah, there you go. So now you can see the dumpster.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
So it's not a very attractive property, and it's mostly used for parking and dumpsters, and they're not open to selling it or doing anything to develop it, unfortunately.
Thank you.
So I guess your connection to the alley is right here, really, at the, if you're
Right.
I will say that redevelopment projects like this in this area is going to put a significant pressure on undeveloped parcels like that for highest and best use. So that won't remain that way. Sage.
Yeah, hopefully not.
While we have Sycamore up on the screen, in 2017 we did that whole parking crawl thing, and we had talked about Sycamore becoming one way. Did that happen?
Yes, it is one way.
It is one way now.
Yeah.
Maybe we were talking about making it two way. Okay, I don't remember now.
No,
I think. Are you sure that the alley isn't the one way?
No, they're both one way.
Yeah, look, see the one-way sign here. Okay. Well, maybe that's for the alley.
I think there was confusion, and we learned that people were going both ways. Anyways, interesting.
I think if you come down the hill, you're supposed to go to the right. You see the arrows and
Yeah, they're all one way. So coming down the hill off of Biltmore is one way, the alley's one way, and Sycamore is one way.
Interesting.
So our recommendations, any issues that you can pass along to the applicant, Sasha, would be that the Downtown Commission is in agreement that they like the idea of murals, and they would like for those murals, I believe I'm speaking for the consensus of the commission, they would like for those murals to be in keeping with the history and the context of the community, specifically the Eagle Street, the Block Market, and the artwork that is already in the adjacent park. And then work with as much as you can to encourage local and Black-owned businesses to occupy the commercial space. I think I've captured everything I heard to date. Any other items that we'd like to pass along to the applicant? Again, we don't take a vote on this, so please speak if you have something to say.
At this very moment, I'm astounded by how much has changed in this perspective. This is what, a 4-year-old picture? Look how much has changed. Whew. 2017. Right.
All right.
Kimberly, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I am I'm going to do something that's not by the rules, but I'm having a lot of emotional response, and so I'm not going to vote on this, and I don't want to talk about it.
That's fair. Thank you. Any other comments? Okay.
Brian, you're muted for some reason.
Yeah, I'm a pro though. So we will move on to 50 Collier Avenue, the development impact discussion for that project, unless anyone has any objections.
Okay, so the next project we have is a level 2 project. It is a small hotel, and it is here in the South Slope area at the intersection of Collier and Millard. If you've been to the Wake sculpture, then you know the site. And apparently the sculpture is in the process of being removed. I haven't been by the site this past week, but I know they've been starting to remove it. So, and it is 2 parcels. This triangle, excuse me, this triangle parcel, and then also this this kind of rectangular one here where it says 42. So going to the plans, I may go, I'll go full screen. Here's just a rendering. So the general idea for this project, I'm going to find the site plan. Or I'll go here first. So the general idea for this project is a 3-story building, triangular shaped, first floor being studio, retail, restaurant. It's not entirely clear exactly what will be there, but they are planning for a restaurant space and retail. And then the next 2 floors, they have changed this configuration a little bit. It was 24 hotel rooms, and now they're 25 hotel rooms. And on the 3rd floor, they have 10 units, and 7 of those are being designated as extended stay. So they're kind of maximizing their number of hotel rooms to 35, and 3 condos, regular kind of long-term condos. So here's a view coming down Collier. Sorry. And this is these are elevations to calculate fenestration. This project has been through TRC. They were at alternative compliance earlier this week. And I will go to the site here, floor plans, sorry. So many things. This project, this is what I wanted to get to, sorry. this project, they were having a conflict with water and sewer lines that were running under the sidewalk. And in TRC, they were showing street trees in the sidewalk, which wasn't really possible. They are moving a water line here on, I think on Collier, but they went through alternative compliance. They're putting the trees up next to the building. And there was a couple trees that are a little bit, tiny bit, like 6 inches and 1 inch closer than they're supposed to be. The Urban Forestry Commission approved their request. The green you see here is silvicels, which is kind of our preferred, highly, the best practice for planting urban trees. And so here you see these silvicels are overlapping with each other, and which is actually really good for the trees. They are very upright species, so they're not going to give a ton of canopy. And Stephen Lee's, one of Stephen Lee's employees is actually working on this project and did a great job. And we kind of made them go through alternative compliance before they came through design review, because we didn't want design review committee trying to approve a project where the landscaping hadn't been figured out. These are just details. Let's see. So sorry, so let me go back. So it is a brick building with this kind of metal look at the end that maybe is representational of a beer can, if you think it is. And then, let's see. So this is the Millard side. Here's an outdoor dining kind of underneath the building space here. And that's the Collier side, of course. And then they do have a green roof and a small roof terrace. So all told together, I think it's around 61,000 square feet. At the design review committee, it was very positively received. There are some balconies on the building, but they're not too many. Sometimes I get concerned when we have too many balconies. I think there were more on the informal review, and they were kind of staggered. It looks like they've all moved to the 3rd floor. So I'm kind of breezing through this. If anybody wants me to go to a certain page, there's a lot here. I'm happy to do it. I can also show you the materials they submitted. So the brick, aluminum, perforated metal balconies. They're using kind of an industrial style on the windows, which is appropriate for this area. And some roll-up glass garage style doors. So that wasn't exactly a smooth presentation. I apologize. But I'm happy to go to floor plans or whatever you would like me to do.
Go ahead, Gio.
I'm just noticing that there's very little interest or on the surrounding sidewalks. They just look like poured sidewalk with street trees, and I just wanted to make a general comment, because our little informal group that's been meeting and walking around downtown to talk about shared spaces and shared streets. We went through here and we looked at we stopped on the site, and we looked around and said, this has great potential for something, but and I think this is because this is sort of the first project in this tiny little triangle lot and the surrounding areas. It just seems to be kind of lacking any interest along the street side, along the actual street itself, and there's not a lot of articulation in the building. There's not a lot of interest along the building sides. I'm okay with that. I'm just more concerned about how there's just nothing along both pedestrian sidewalks that make me want to linger, maybe want to stay there. There's just no interest.
They've got that one lobby along the side we can see, and they've got that outdoor dining space on the other side. It's harder to see in the renderings but are you saying that it's just not activated from a pedestrian?
Yeah, exactly. It just seems kind of cold. And I don't know. I just wanted to make a comment because I think we want to encourage being a little bit more creative along our pedestrian routes. And I can see the potential on the other side, but if we don't start the process, as we go through these little infill projects and these little, new projects, that we'll lose the opportunity of introducing, activity and activating those spaces and making them creative and making them interesting. And that's, I think, one of the reasons why people like to enjoy walking. This seems kind of dry and cold. Excuse the reference, but that's the way I just don't see much there. There's no art. There'll be trees. Yes, I'm glad of that. But that's about it.
How about lighting?
Yeah.
And I know Kimberly's not feeling well this morning, but I feel like this is something her and I bring up about general safety, walkability, and so on. And we don't really ever discuss lighting as a guideline necessarily, but I don't see any lighting here. And I don't know how to tag it, but you're right, Gio. There's something that would make me as a woman at night not necessarily want to walk down that street.
And I do want to just add a little detail to the conversation, if that's all right. And I'm not disagreeing in any way, but so there's a weakness with these renderings. Like, so the sidewalk doesn't even look 10 feet here, which it will be. With this grade change here, I feel like there's an ADA entrance here. And so the sidewalk is a little split. And if you, let me go to the site plan. If you can, so the sidewalk's actually pretty wide, and there have been some plans for, I want to say it's like a bike rack or something. This point, I feel like, is an opportunity for art or some, it's a very distinctive, there's not a lot of places in downtown where you have a triangular view like that.
But they've just got a bike rack sitting there right now, which I think
is
kind of what he's getting at, is that the building is very internally oriented, is how I would describe it. It sets up a city wall and then looks inward. I'm sorry, Robin, I'm running over top of you. Go ahead. You're muted.
Of course I am. Was I not muted before? I don't know. Anyway, I was just going to add to why I think it feels cold, and it's a problem I had with it with the design review. I know what the architect is trying to do, and he wants it to look like a warehouse that's been punched openings over the years, but I don't think it's successful, and I don't know what it would take to make it successful. It just looks kind of arbitrary. So
thank you.
It's just this arbitrary feeling that's not interesting and I think that's the problem. I don't know how to make
it's kind of overwhelmingly brick as well.
Yeah.
When I first looked at it, I thought, whoa, brick factory, but with no detailing.
Right. So maybe if it's supposed to be this warehouse that's changed over time, maybe there'd be different bricks and different like places where it looks like it's been added on to, different colors, different, it's just all the same brick, and maybe there's a way to enhance that.
Or it would have been detailed like the Sawyer building.
Yes.
Or, we've got lots of brick warehouses in this area that are older buildings that are all brick, and they're all the same brick, but they don't look like it, because now they have introduced a couple of soldier courses and they've got some lintels in some places, but
but they line up.
But yeah, exactly. See, where I really depart is that it doesn't actually look like an old warehouse building. The brick does not. But the old warehouse buildings had a very regular fenestration pattern, a very regular a way of detailing, and then pulling those things out. And this one, again, it's all dominated by the internal program, and it has very little to say about what's going on in the street. We're getting into design issues, but these get into what we need to talk about. And then I just don't like the little hat boxes that are sitting on top of the roof. They look odd to me, and the I'm going to use it. Sasha said it. The beer can in the front is less. It's a missed opportunity. So we've covered a few things. Are there other some design comments regarding the streetscape, the building organization? I'm fine with the material choice myself, but I think it could be detailed better. But building organization and streetscape and lighting, are there other items that we need to talk about in terms of, obviously they've got some parking in the plan. Is that correct, Sasha? Am I
They
reading
do,
the
yeah.
drawing? They've got a
Kimberly
parking
has
deck.
her hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry, Kimmy.
Thanks. So I wanted to address the parking as well because I remember really liking what I saw the first time because of the underground parking. But I also remember that I don't remember it being all brick. Did something change in the materials? I felt like it was two types of materials before, which gave a little bit no.
I don't think
You're both shaking your head.
I think
no.
I think it will. I'll go find it somehow. But I'm showing. I can show you all. I think. Can I? I don't know if we actually got it. When did we see this? We saw it.
Maybe like 2
July
months
or
ago.
something.
Yeah, something like that.
There we go. So this is
Yeah,
what.
so this is very different in my mind. This front part was more pronounced. Now it's more recessed and smaller. The proportions of the building have changed in a big way based on what I'm seeing today. Something's very different than the first time around. So I feel
And
like I'm looking at a completely different project.
You're right. And look, there's art actually presented on the
It's
corner.
totally changed, and I'm just bringing that up because what we saw in the review committee versus today, I feel like I'm looking at two different things.
Well, and those sash openings on the first floor are very warehouse kind of industrial looking and much different than you're exactly right.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I just needed to see it again because I'm like, this isn't what we reviewed at all.
I do think this is a personal preference. I prefer like the darker solid red brick. Looks older to me, and the this kind of multicolor. Maybe it's just the way it's drawn.
Yeah, the scale of that pattern is off, and it looks cartoony, and it's just distracting. But that's an artifact of their rendering. I can kind of get my head past that. But I think Kimmy's right. There's a lot going on with this. It is very much different. And I just think the building organization looks different. The other one looked more regular. And it felt more like what Robin, I think, was describing earlier.
I agree. If you don't mind me, the latest the brick pattern is kind of schizophrenic. It's at least this is in this view that we're looking at right now. It doesn't draw my eye everywhere. At least it's giving me some focus. I think the first thing I reacted when I saw the latest drawings were, my God, this brick is just sort of scattershot everywhere, and I don't know why it changed so much, but I really do like the first drawings much.
I do think these window shapes and placement are the same though, between the two. I mean,
Yeah, but if they are, then notice how much just changing the texture on the brick
totally
has pulled your attention away from the careful detailing and the placement of the windows.
I imagine Peter with MHA is watching this and hearing this brick comment. I want to layer in my voice of support. I so prefer this brick to that other chunky mixed. I didn't even know what was going on with that brick pattern in the image. This is much better. Kimmy, thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Sure. And the other thing I want to ask about is the pieces on top. Sorry, guys, I'm not feeling well today, but I think that all the items at the top that are supposed to be these small buildings and such, the orientation, the colorways are different. So there's also, it's throwing off the balance of how you view the building. So I don't know if there's a way to, there's other professionals on this committee that, I'm not in your shoes, but there's a better way to align it with the first renderings as opposed to what's been done now. I don't think it's just the color when it comes to the top. I think there's been some changes in positioning and sizes of buildings, so everything is thrown off.
It's proportions, and your comment on that. I mean, this building has one really interesting element, and that's where it comes to the point. It's what draws your eye, and it should be the most fascinating thing about it. And what they had in this one, where it really felt like a separate piece. I don't know that I like this, but I like it better than what they have now, where it really feels like it's its own thing. And
that's what you said the first time, Brian. So your comments are consistent, and Robin's are as well. Is the comments you made the first time are the same as this time, but unfortunately, the entire project looks different, and this is creating more problems.
I mean, I would make it like a glass cylinder or something like that. It's not refined. It's just not. It's like they took it out of the oven and they forgot to stick the toothpick in it or something. I don't know.
Sasha, can we look at the back of the building? So see how this front that we're looking at here, it's flatter to the building where before it was more pronounced. And then can we go to the back and then compare the two? There's also a change in step backs or something changed where it's much wider and flatter. So the brick is extended further versus the first one. There's a shift.
Is this what this part you mean?
So yeah, so we're looking at this. Now can we look at the other one, same view?
Wow.
To go find it. I don't know if they rendered
I got to
it.
point out that this is why we have this community leadership seat on the design committee. Good job, Kenny. So I'm also wondering while we're going through all this, why there's a food truck on the roof. And is that what there's a food truck on the roof, right?
We talked about that the first time.
It's not really clear if that's totally.
It was a gimmick.
They
said at the time it would just, they were just showing that as a way to activate or draw interest to it or something. The rooftop stuff was unconvincing in the first go around, and it got worse.
Okay.
That's what it is. So it's the back here that we're looking at, because of where those buildings are set at the top, it continues to look like the balance is still off a little bit, but when they changed it, I think they moved things, and now it's just this big wide wall in the back, and all the buildings are do you see what I'm saying? So everything shifted in the back as well. So they moved a lot of things around, and the balance is completely off.
just want to see from the up, because there, let me see if there's a overhead view to get at what you're saying.
Yeah, and it shows up in the elevations too. And we're going to make sure and transfer these comments to them at the design review board meeting next week. These are all great things. So what I've got so far, Gio, is your streetscape pedestrian experience, kind of, for lack of a better term, circulation, building organization, pedestrian activation kind of comments. We've got comments regarding the point of the building. They're showing a little circular thing right now in plan in that view that Sasha has pulled up. But when I look at the site plans, they got a bike rack sitting there, which, I like bike racks, but goodness.
This little can thing reminds me of a can of beer. It's a brewery. Is that the intent?
Yes, that's the intent.
Okay. Huh.
Sorry.
Yeah. I definitely made that remark. Brian, I didn't mean to interrupt your flow, but just so you all know, I brought up the bike rack and the point during TRC because I'm not a fan of, I think they're having a hard time finding where to put it, but it's not a great place.
Yeah. We had some, go ahead, Megan.
I just had a question. I think we heard in the hotel update last month that city staff is working on some clarity around the extended stay.
Yes.
language. And so an observation, I think this is at least the third project we've seen in the last couple months that starts out a little more residential, or a lot more residential in some cases, and then those morph into these extended stay units. So just sort of an observation of something that I'm noticing.
Absolutely. And staff notices it too, and we talk about it, and we definitely will tighten up that extended stay language. And we also are working on like trying to figure out what are the thresholds that if you change your project midstream, what causes you to go back, and what do you have to go back to? And is it the neighborhood meeting? We've been having discussions with CAN. I'm going down the rabbit hole here, but we've been having discussions with CAN about when things change, when do you need to go back to a neighborhood and have a meeting? So
Go ahead, Sage.
I'll just throw in, to Megan's point, we did hear an update on the hotel overlay, and this was flagged, this extended stay as language that needed to be updated. The plan had been to come back in several months with some updated language, but I made a request that this particular part of the language, the extended stay, be expedited. So in light of this, I'm actually going to follow up over email and see if we can't get council to move this up, this particular portion, because it is just going to keep happening, and I don't think that's the desire.
well, and it's not to say that extended stay units won't happen, but really they're supposed to be managed as a hotel, correct? So
Exactly. So
Shannon's on this call, but I think she and I talked just last week about tentatively, I'll just say tentatively, I can't promise things, but trying to get to P&Z in November, which is November 3rd, and then getting to council as soon as we can after that. So.
Do we have any other comments? So we're going to bring up a lot of this stuff at the design review board meeting. Are there other things that are less in the design review purview, which deeply appreciative as a member of the design review board, because you gave me crystallized some things that I was trying to put into words. So I very much appreciate all that. But are there other things like, downtown master plan alignment, livability, sustainability, parking kind of issues? Sage, I mentioned lighting as well, building lighting, security lighting. That's something that our standards don't really address at present, at least, that other than, there's some passing references. But anyway, are there other items that we need to make sure that we capture here today?
I just think the big one is the downtown master plan alignment. I mean, when I read that one, that's the reason we had so many problems with the design of it. It doesn't cultivate downtown's creative, cultural, and historic character. It doesn't contribute to equality, sustainability, and sense of place. So
I feel like there's some missed opportunities on they've got that one kind of outdoor dining space, and they've got this huge lease space that I don't know, it feels walled off. I still feel like it's a walled off project, and it's not really interacting with the street very well currently, at least the way I read it. I've been wrong many times. So yes, that's something that we want on record anyway. If there's no other comments, I think everybody's kind of felt like they said their piece. Stephen Lee said he was going to talk about bad design and he didn't say anything, so he must love it.
I'm withholding comment because.
Oh yeah. You're involved in the design. I got you. Yeah. Sorry. Okay. Well, we will move on to our next order of business unless anyone objects or needs to go back to it. So we will go right into our updates and reports. Wow, 20 after 10. Look at us. Robin, I think you were on deck to talk about that.
Sorry, Robin, I stuck you in here. I hoped you.
It's all right. Surprise!
Not at the last meeting.
It's okay. It kept me on my toes this morning. So, no, I saw it on the agenda earlier. So we met September 16th, and we went over 3 projects for formal design review that we've seen here. We went over 39 Patton Avenue, which was the rehabilitation of an existing historic building, the one that two-sided on Lexington. And we all agreed and gave that positive feedback and approved it to move on. And we then went over 217 Hillyard Avenue, level 2 project. It's a new building on 217 Hillyard. It's 80 units of micro housing in a 5-story building. There was lots of interesting discussion for that project, but ultimately we approved it and it moved on. And the last project we reviewed was 61 Biltmore, the Moxie Hotel. It's a new 8-story tall condominium building addition located at 51 Biltmore Avenue on the Aloft property, the stirrup section. And we talked about that and approved it, and it's moving on as well. And those were the only projects we talked about.
What is the Downtown Commission's, we've been doing this design review board kind of separating these 2 streams now for a few months. Do you feel like that we are, that it's working the way it's intended in terms of the process and how we are communicating to applicants and the kind of design input that we're giving applicants, and the way, just is the process working is my question.
I had that thought at our last meeting. I feel like something's getting dropped with this process, because at design review, we talk about design, which we should, and it makes it clean and it keeps the discussion focused on design, which when we talked about these projects in Downtown Commission, I feel like a lot of times the design would get muddled up in the other issues. But at our last Downtown Commission meeting, Andrew Fletcher spoke passionately about the Moxie Hotel and his feelings about it. But then when we talked about it at design review, we didn't talk about the use. We talked about, what it was. So I don't really know what needs to change, but I do feel like something's getting lost. And that's my opinion.
Thank you. Shannon, I saw your hand.
Yeah, thanks. I felt like your question was probably directed to the commissioners, but I couldn't kind of help but respond from a staff perspective.
Yeah, I wanted staff to. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, so I think the process is working quite well. One of the goals was to ensure that design review stay principally design review, so that there could be some integrity to the design review process, and we didn't introduce issues that were not design related and kind of muddle the conversation. So I think from that perspective, just as Robin has described, it's working quite well. And regarding the non-design related comments, we are transferring those comments, but we're trying to put them on a track that sends them to the appropriate body to consider those non-design related issues, such as the Planning and Zoning Commission. So that didn't happen with the Moxie because it was a level 2. So all of our, by right projects, we don't have the opportunity to consider these non-technical standards, things like concerns about how, the increase in lodging activity is affecting the balance of uses in our downtown, stuff like that. These are more like comprehensive or small area plan goals that we look at when we have our special application processes or our legislative applications. With these level 2 by right projects, we just don't really have that option. So unfortunately, there isn't a great way to communicate that, except that the applicant does hear it. And I don't think I think that's worth something. So I feel like it is working pretty well, at least from the staff perspective. I'd invite Sasha to kind of offer her thoughts as well if I didn't, No, I think you covered it all. And I think if you have strong feelings about hotels as a use on a project by project basis, that's not we're not talking about changing ordinances here. So, but I do think for example, with the Moxie, Shannon's the planner and has been doing follow-up meetings with the applicant around the pedestrian use of the alley. And so I think all your comments actually go into things that we deal with directly with the applicant that and maybe we need to do a better job of reporting back to you partly of like, how did your comments help influence a project too?
I'm thinking of it from a couple of different perspectives as well. So there's the input that we have in the project from a downtown commission perspective, and then from the design review board perspective. And we have limited a purview and therefore limited ability to affect some of these projects because a lot of them are by right. But then there's also the, I think as Shannon kind of touched on, there's the aspect where I want to make sure as a chairman and as a commission member that I'm doing a good job advocating for you folks on the legislative side. Are we communicating? Am I taking what Andrew said, what Kimberly's saying, what some of you are saying about the downtown master plan and some of these uses to council? Is council hearing what we're concerned with and what we are hearing? The downtown is concerned with, the city of Asheville is concerned with, and are we raising enough hell over some of these things? Are people hearing us? And that's where I'm not sure I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, and that's kind of where I'm asking the question. Kimmy?
Yeah, I appreciate the question. It's kind of why I didn't want to comment on something earlier, because I get that we are bifurcating bit by bit what I look at as holistic and integrated needs. To me, design is impacted by people, and people impact design. And so when we bifurcate on a level that's just looking at property, what we do is, and this is just in one instance, right? Basically, this is how I'm seeing design review in some situations, that it's created to isolate projects so that gentrification or other concerns that are community-wide continue to flourish at a slow burn, right? So whether it's lighting issues, whether it's a neighborhood used to be very welcoming to certain types of group of people, whether they were physically different or black or whatever, and then all of a sudden, because we're isolating these projects just down to the nuts, bolts, fenestration, things of that nature, and we do it 7 times in 3 years for that same block. Now, all of a sudden, who's welcome there, who's allowed to be there without being harassed, has totally changed. And so as much as I respect and I love and appreciate being a part of this process on a very personal and citizen-related level, I am also highly bothered because I'm clear that for every individual design review component I participate in that is viewed as isolating, and it has to be done based on building and codes and master plans and all those things. Those plans were created when it was legal to leave certain people and their interests out. So it is an ongoing issue, and until it gets solved in a way that really is inclusive, I still have problems with it. There are many gaps that we get to leave as is because it's the building and not the people. And so I am bothered, and I appreciate you asking the question. And it's why I was emotional earlier, because there's things I just at this point don't want to say because people are looking at me personally being disruptive in a don't follow the rules kind of way. And I'm all about building and design, but I'm not about it hurting people for the short term or the long term. Those two cannot be separated in my heart or in my mind or in my decisions.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And from my perspective, you're more than welcome to disrupt. We can handle it. Let's keep thinking about this. And so there's several of us that are members of the design review committee. I think the council was looking at increasing the at-large, so there was going to eventually be 3 and 3. I think I'm saying that right, Sasha and Shannon. That the makeup of the design review board design review committee is going to change as we go. And I am still in favor of what we're doing, but like Robin and Kimberly, I do worry that I'm not doing something right somehow, that I'm dropping the ball, I'm missing something. I just can feel it. It's hard to put, it's not quantifiable in a way that I can clearly see. But anyway, let's keep thinking about that. And I'll quit. Asheville Downtown Association update and report, Megan.
I think I told you guys a couple months ago that we had a survey out mostly to our members, but there are also some other downtown businesses. We had about 90 responses to that survey, and we asked questions about COVID, about ARPA funding, public safety, development, infrastructure, and tourism. This is a survey we try to do twice a year. So once at the beginning of the year, report that out at the State of Downtown Luncheon, and then about mid-year, and then share those results with key city leadership and city staff. I would say, we asked a lot of open-ended questions, so it's hard to sort of distill some of that down. But I think safety, public restrooms, and cleanliness probably rose to the top. Also with some concerns around homelessness and long-term solutions. And surprisingly, parking was a little lower on that list, which is unusual for a downtown association survey. I do think that, I know that with ARPA funding, it'd be interesting to know if this committee or commission is going to be involved in some of the city's process or proposals, because I think it's important that there are some downtown initiatives coming forth. I know we plan to look at some projects to apply for some of that funding, but it would be interesting to have input from you guys as well. And then I guess otherwise, we're looking at trying to hold a holiday parade this year, talking with, public health and looking, that's an obviously outdoor event, but there's a lot of space and we can spread things out. So working on that, hopeful that we can bring some sort of community celebration back this year. And I think that's probably about it from us. Happy to answer any questions. Thanks.
Very good. Thank you, Megan. All right. Rachel Taylor is going to go through the downtown update report.
All right. Hi. I'm not sure if I met all of y'all last time. I'm Rachel Taylor. I'm the new economic development specialist. And so I'm going to run through these updates. And this is my first go around. So if there are any topics that we want to specifically see moving forward, just shoot me an email. I'll be sure to get them on there. So some updates on the AVL shared spaces, the outdoor expansion initiatives. Dana sent out a survey before she left. That survey period has now closed, and so we're wrapping up those results. And based on that, we'll decide next steps and how we'll proceed moving forward. But the initiatives will extend through, I believe, January 3rd, 2022. So that'll be how it's going to be for a little while longer while we figure out next steps. The city also released the American Rescue Plan RFPs. There's an information session coming up. It's not required, but it'll be an opportunity to ask any questions. That's on October 13th at 4. And I believe they will compile all of the responses. So if you can't make it, it'll be put out in an addendum. And deadlines for the rescue plan funds and all of that RFP process can be found in those links. We talked about the development projects coming up. The next design review committee is going to be on October 21st. And then the new noise ordinance went into effect last month, and so I'm hearing some concerns just from in my wheelhouse, but it seems to be going fairly smoothly. So if there are ever any questions or anything like that, the link is there, and then you can also email us. And then last little bits, the Greenway Master Plan and pedestrian plan, they have just wrapped up their input last week, I guess. And so we'll follow up with Lucy about next steps and the results of that survey. We've got a lot of outdoor special events coming up, the Drum Circle, the Ooh La La Market. Those are weekly events coming up. We've also got the Festival and Gospel in the Park on the 10th. And then we've got a couple of races that should have open street routes. So I don't think that will necessitate any road closures. And those dates are all there. And yeah, that about covers it. So if there are any questions, happy to answer those. And Sasha and Shannon, feel free to hop in if I've left anything out.
I've got a quick question regarding the noise ordinance. There was a 6-month kind of trial period, and then it was going to, we were going to evaluate it. So at some point, there's going to be data being collected on the types of complaints and how things have been, we've been responding and stuff. As that data is collected, will that be shared with us prior to being shared with council? How is that process going to work, the actual review of the ordinance itself?
Sasha and Shannon, do y'all know about that?
I don't. We can find out and make sure we get back to you. I don't think it's a problem to share whatever we can before council once it's available. Okay.
Kimberly, I see your hand.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask on top of that, is there a way to measure for marginalization that those complaints that are coming in categorically are marginalizing? I think that is something to consider.
Can you say a little more about that just so I can make sure to let folks know what you're...
Sure. So from my understanding, background, etymology of noise ordinances, things like that, they often tend to skew over time as a marginalization tool for people who have less socioeconomic means, meaning they have to work late in order to make ends meet, meaning they make more noise either in terms of their work, how they transport themselves from work to home, and then when they get home, how they have to manage within their usually a apartment style building, laundry, cooking, dinner, things like that. And so I had had a conversation in January or February with city staff about these very things. And I just want to make sure that now that the ordinance has passed, that the measurements that we're using to evaluate complaints also includes the propensity for those complaints to lead to more marginalization with punitive outcomes. So that's what I'm asking, because that's what I care about. And I think this is going to matter based on historic research around noise ordinances.
So when we look at this information, we're going to probably want to see, where are the complaints coming from, and where are they being against, and kind of what are some of the demographic markers and socioeconomic markers that are involved in these things. That's the kind of data I think this commission at least is going to be interested in looking at, and then passing any of that back on to council.
Thank you.
Great.
That's helpful. That's helpful so we can. Thanks.
Very good. Any other comments or questions? Somebody had a question about the ARPA stuff and whether we had any input into that. And so I can't remember now who it was. Yeah, Megan, thank you. So not really, kind of. We're looking, or at least I am trying to follow the funding categories that the city has identified and who is submitting bids to it. I don't know of any direct input that we have into that process. I don't even know that there's a method for that. Sage is going to answer my question though.
A couple things. So the ARPA application period opens on the 15th and closes at the end of the month. I do know Megan and the ADA, I believe, are considering an application. But to the topic of whether or not this board should weigh in, I would think yes, because some of the, even if you're not applying, or whether it's Megan's, what she's putting forth, there are going to be some that are very impactful to downtown. One is the Community Connectors program that the chamber is putting together, and they have a flyer out. I would consider y'all looking at it, because it's going to come quick. I think we're going to be voting in December on choosing. And if there were a recommendation from the Downtown Commission to tackle a problem that y'all recognized, I think we'd like to hear that.
Very good. Thank you. Any, I saw a hand. Kimberly?
Thanks. So I just want to say one more thing about noise ordinance. So keep in mind, and this, I'm not saying tourism is bad, but we have to keep in mind that when we want to promote the hospitality industry, and hospitality industry runs 24/7, don't stop till you get enough, right? And then we put in ordinances that actually penalize the people and those who are work adjacent to them because of the noise that comes from that industry and working in it and being around it. I think we have to really reframe how we are thinking about public benefits. And I just want to name that, because you can't say you want this and then penalize over here for that when they're all very connected. And so I'm just going to keep saying these things until we really integrate how we're treating each other through these ordinances, laws, reviews, and things like that. Thank you very much.
Hey, yeah, I want to chime in on the end of that, because just as a general reminder to the Downtown Commission, y'all are to advise on the success of downtown. And you don't have to just deal with what's on your agenda. You can put forth your own recommendations and you can rally ideas and so on. And one of the things that comes to mind is a downtown design guideline update that speaks to, say, the projects we looked at today and the quality of their glass and the rating at which transfers noise through them. Some of these things are just, if you're feeling that and you're worried about the extended stay and you're worried about the noise, take some proactive steps if you can. I would encourage that.
So with that, are there any other items either regarding the updates and reports, or with that, we can move right into the informal discussion and future agenda. Dane would like to make a recommendation before we even get into the rest of the discussion. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank the city. We have two projects that are currently underway, and that's the paving of Carolina Lane and Langren Alley. This is something that the residents and businesses have been asking for a long time. And it's not just a cosmetic issue. One of the things that they just finished Carolina Lane, and some of you may be aware, we don't have storm drains in this part of town. And so a big part of the project was making sure that the water is draining properly down Carolina Lane. A lot of the water was previously going down into Chicken Alley and affecting those people. And so they've done a lot of work to, divert the water back into the main downflow towards Lexington, which is where all the water drains. And so I just wanted to thank the city for finally, getting around to doing these two projects. And especially Dana Frankel and Chuck Morris, the way the project, it was a difficult project because there's a lot of traffic, there was a lot of repair work that had to be done, and they did a very good job. The contractor was excellent at working with people. And so I just wanted to say thanks to the city and to those two people in particular for the way this project was handled.
Thank you.
We'll make sure that gets passed on. Thank you.
Are there any other items for informal discussion? Tagging on what Sage's comment, anything that we did not address today that you would like to make sure we address before we adjourn? Kimberly.
Do y'all have any interest in making a recommendation to council to move the extended stay language faster? If you did and you wanted me to push that recommendation onto council today, I would.
I would certainly concur with that, simply because in the last month we've seen two of these kind of sneak in, and it's going to continue to happen as long as we
at least three.
So yeah, it's sneaking in, and I think we need to kind of plug that hole.
I don't know if we need that. I mean, we're already moving as fast as the calendar will allow. If we go to planning and zoning in November, then we'll get to council probably early December, and that's really the fastest we could possibly move anyway. So
it does have to go to P&Z?
Yes.
As an
For sure.
ordinance change, it does.
Yeah.
Is there any additional input in language or reviewing that language that this group can be part of or needs to be part of?
Well, we could certainly take the draft and circulate it to the. I'm just thinking timeline wise, it might be hard. Yeah, if we're going to try to move quickly, it's going to be hard to.
Yeah, let's do this. If you don't mind circulating that draft language, and if we have anything to say, then we need to attend the P&Z meeting and make our comments through P&Z. And we can do that as Downtown Commission members, but just attend and make any public comments directly to P&Z and filter it that way. Does that make sense, Shannon?
Yeah, that works. We could also, for those who are interested in participating, we could maybe set up a couple short informal kind of discussions. One thing that might be a little bit tricky in communicating, and when we circulate the draft, I can maybe try to offer some explanation, but this is like the nuanced relationship between understanding that extended stays are a subset of hotels, which are different than short-term rentals, which is different than a homestay, which, so sometimes it's hard to kind of understand how the standard we're proposing would be applied. I can try to explain that when I circulate the draft. But if folks maybe want to set up a meeting with just like a couple members at a time, a 15-minute conversation to kind of explain, just to avoid public meeting laws issues. We could just maybe do a couple people at a time, but just do a couple 15-minute meetings. So when we circulate the draft, maybe just reply back to see if you'd be interested in a short conversation before P&Z. It might just help coalesce or make sure everybody's on the same page.
It would, because we feel like we're playing whack-a-mole with people getting around. How do you rent a place here without living here? Kind of conversations. So thank you. I appreciate that. Kimberly, you had your hand up, didn't you?
Yeah, thanks. I just wanted to see if we could at some point, maybe in our December meeting, take an opportunity to review what we said our objectives were, our priorities were, and just how we're doing. I know that a year-end review kind of summary for council might be wise. We've done those in the past, and by us kind of taking a look at how we've integrated our priorities and where those impacts lie would be, I think, encouraging, not just for us on the committee, but also for those in the community.
That's a great suggestion. Yes, we will do that. Yeah, I will get started on that. Megan?
Just a question, as Franzi left, I was reminded that she was leading the local living economy working group of this commission. And as she rolls off the commission and out of her role at Go Local, I wonder, is that a group that we want to, continue to have? We could put this maybe on the next agenda, but just thinking about whether we want to continue that group, and does it remain part of the downtown commission?
Thank you. Gia?
Just to follow up, since we're asking staff to do so much more, we had talked about reconvening the public space management subcommittee, and I have been working on that informal group that has been walking around. We've had 2 meetings so far, and I just wondered if we could try to re-engage that committee that stopped kind of working about 2 years ago, because I think it's time that we start we start dealing with sort of just on the ground management, public management issues and so forth.
Yes, and I felt like I got my legs jerked out from underneath me. We were about to get started with our subcommittee meetings again when everything went back virtual. So I still don't know what the rules are, but yes, I'll try to figure out who of us are going to take those and lead with them. I think we very much need that, and that'll probably go into how we're addressing some of these priorities. Okay. Any other comments for informal discussion, future agenda items? Okay. I don't think we had any public comment. So with your leave, I think we can adjourn, right?
Thank
Move
you
to
all for your
adjourn.
time and input.
Very good. I move. It's moved to adjourn. If you are in favor, then leave. Thank you.